For weeks, the elephant refused to eat, her mournful cries echoing through the zoo. Her caretakers were perplexed, unable to understand the sudden shift in her behavior. Then, a familiar figure returned to the zoo, and his arrival changed everything. What can we do to help her? This question haunted the zookeepers every day for the past month. Daisy, the elephant, seemed utterly indifferent now, her eyes vacant, barely registering the world around her. All the signs pointed to the fact that her time was running out. To the caretakers, Daisy wasn't just an elephant. She was the heart of the wildlife park, beloved by all who knew her. She was more than an animal. She was a companion. Brought to the park as a calf, many of the staff had witnessed her grow from a timid youngster into the majestic creature she was today. Daisy was known for her playful nature, often tricking the staff into staying longer with her before they could attend to other animals. Elephants, with their deep emotional intelligence, can form intricate bonds, and Daisy's joy and affection had always warmed the hearts of those around her. But now something had changed. Each day she would refuse food and water, taking only a few bites after much coaxing. This was the same elephant who used to devour her meals eagerly, her energy contagious. The sadness in her eyes was impossible to ignore, as though she were grieving something profound. Some of the zookeepers had even caught her weeping in private moments, unsure of the cause. They had to intervene or risk losing her to an irreversible depression, one that could lead her to isolate herself, even to the point of starving to death. The caretakers had come to the painful conclusion that they didn't have what it took to save her. In desperation, the manager reached out to an old friend, Mike, hoping he could provide the help Daisy so desperately needed. The days passed, each one pushing Daisy closer to the edge. Mike was the only person he knew who could offer her the kind of support she needed. Mike agreed to come, and 2 days later he arrived at the zoo. A seasoned professional with experience handling wildlife, especially elephants, he was no stranger to troubled animals. When he arrived, the situation was unchanged. Daisy remained motionless in her enclosure, listless, with no interest in food. "Daisy, it's me," Mike called softly, taking cautious steps toward her. "Why are you doing this to them?" he asked gently, his voice filled with concern. Her ears twitched at the sound of his voice, and she slowly turned her head toward him. Despite the toll her fasting had taken on her, Daisy managed to rise to her feet, moving toward him as if she had been waiting for this moment. As she made her way to him, Mike's mind flashed back to the first time he had met her. Daisy had been only a year old when she was brought to the wildlife park. An orphan, she had suffered the loss of her mother at a tender age, leaving her fragile and withdrawn. She showed no interest in forming bonds with her caretakers, rejecting their touch, convinced that humans were responsible for the death of her mother. In the midst of her grief, the park introduced a new face. 24-year-old Mike, a volunteer with a passion for wildlife conservation. Though he had started as a volunteer, Mike had no intention of staying in that role. He had always dreamed of working with animals, especially those whose survival was threatened in a rapidly changing world. He wanted to make a difference, to be their voice. For Mike, joining the wildlife park was a dream come true, a chance to prove himself and perhaps eventually earn a full-time position. Not long after joining the team, Mike was assigned to assist a caretaker and was briefed about Daisy's troubled history. The park's goal was to help Daisy adjust to her new environment and build trust with her caretakers, to make her feel safe and prevent her from slipping further into isolation. But Mike quickly realized the depth of the challenge before him. Daisy was standoffish, refusing to engage with anyone who tried to touch her. She would only accept food from the staff, retreating into herself whenever they tried to play or connect with her. When Mike first tried to approach her, she viewed him with suspicion, more a stranger than someone who might help her. The trauma of losing her mother ran deep, and it was clear that Daisy had yet to find any comfort in the presence of humans. Each day, Mike was met with the same resistance, but it didn't deter him. On his days off, he devoured books on elephant behavior and reached out to wildlife experts, seeking any insight into how to help Daisy heal. While Mike couldn't force Daisy to accept him, he knew that every day he had to show her just how much he cared. 1 month after his first meeting with the elephant, Mike and the caretaker arrived at the elephant enclosure, carrying Daisy's meal. She ate and then lay down, waiting for her caretakers to leave. But instead of joining the others, Mike asked for permission to stay behind. This was his final task of the day, and he wanted to spend a few extra moments with her before heading home. Granted permission, Mike found a log to sit on, his eyes never leaving Daisy. Elephants, like humans, are deeply empathetic creatures, capable of understanding and interpreting human voices. Mike decided to rely on Daisy's innate ability to sense emotions, hoping to gradually dismantle the walls she had built around herself. He began to speak to her, sharing the events of his day, talking about everything that came to mind. There was no plan, no specific agenda, just a quiet stream of words. He noticed that when he laughed, Daisy's ears perked up, though she remained otherwise unmoved. After about 30 minutes, he bid her goodbye and headed home. But in his heart, he knew this would not be their last conversation. Every day after his work was done, Mike would return to Daisy's enclosure and spend time with her. He took it upon himself to bathe her, turning it into a ritual, a time for both of them to learn and build trust. As days turned into weeks, Mike began to notice subtle changes. Sorry for the interruption, but before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support means so much. Thank you. Daisy began to anticipate his visits. Every evening, her ears would perk up at the sound of his voice, and she'd watch him closely, her curiosity growing. Bath time, once a difficult task, had become her favorite moment of the day, a time when she was most cooperative with the staff. One evening, after a long and exhausting day, Mike headed to the elephant enclosure again. His body ached for rest, and every part of him wanted to go home. But he and Daisy had built a ritual, and he had no intention of breaking it. He planned to stay only a few minutes, perhaps apologize for needing to leave so soon. But when he entered, he was met with an unexpected sight. For the first time, Daisy was standing on her feet, waiting for him. As he sat down, she approached him cautiously, listening as he spoke about his day, and expressed his amazement at the progress she had made. But as the time came for him to leave, something extraordinary happened. Before Mike could turn and walk away, Daisy extended her trunk, wrapping it around his arm and tugging gently. Looking down at her, Mike felt a smile stretch across his face, a deep warmth filling his chest. Nearly 3 months had passed since they first met, and this was the first time Daisy had reached out to touch someone. Mike felt humbled. He was the first to earn her trust and affection. The exhaustion he had felt melted away as he knelt down to gently pet her. This time, Daisy didn't pull away. Instead, she held his hand, her way of assuring him that he wasn't leaving her. Not anymore. When Mike shared this with the manager and his supervisor, they were skeptical, until they saw it for themselves. The moment Mike spoke her name, Daisy rushed toward him, eager and trusting. When he bent down to pet her, she nuzzled against him, showering him with affection, a joy she hadn't shown in a long time. Witnessing the growing bond between Mike and Daisy, the park made a decision. Mike would become Daisy's primary caretaker, with additional assistants to help him. With Mike's steady presence, Daisy became more cheerful. She no longer resisted when the staff tried to pet her and would often engage in playful antics, using her trunk to gently restrict their movements, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Though Daisy grew fond of the other staff, she never fully warmed to anyone except Mike. For Daisy, he was the first to offer her friendship, the first to save her from the loneliness that threatened to consume her. Their moments alone together at the end of each day brought her immense joy. Mike's success with Daisy didn't go unnoticed. Wildlife parks and sanctuaries facing similar challenges began reaching out to him for help. The attention was overwhelming, but Mike felt grateful for the opportunity to live his dream. to make a real difference in the lives of animals who couldn't speak for themselves. In his free time, Mike offered consultations to other centers, diving deep into techniques that fostered better relationships between animals and their human caretakers. Despite his growing commitments, Mike remained dedicated to his role at the park. No matter how hectic his day became, he always made time for Daisy, nurturing not only their bond but also helping her connect with the other rescued elephants who had joined the park. As Daisy grew, Mike grew alongside her and remained by her side for the next 30 years. At 31 years old, the shadows of Daisy's troubled past were all but forgotten. Her playful spirit, love for her caretakers, and affection for visitors made her the heart of the park, a constant source of joy for everyone who encountered her. Now, at 53, Mike had achieved more than he had ever imagined. He had become an integral part of key wildlife preservation projects. Though he found fulfillment in his work, Mike was ready to step away from the park and travel abroad more often, continuing his mission to protect wildlife across the globe. Though his bond with Daisy remained strong, Mike believed his assistant could continue his work with her. When he decided to retire, he began gradually reducing the time he spent with Daisy, hoping that it would give her space to adjust and begin to detach from him. The park, though, was sad to see him go and did everything it could to make him stay. But after a month, his resignation was accepted, and he was allowed to leave. Before his departure, Mike entered Daisy's enclosure to say goodbye. Daisy, thrilled to see him, seemed more focused on playing with Mike than listening to his words. Unable to capture her attention, Mike decided to join in the fun, savoring the final moments. When it came time to leave, he did so quietly, hoping she wouldn't notice. But as Daisy wrapped her trunk around him, Mike realized how wrong he had been. Losing familiar caretakers can deeply affect elephants, leading to depression and refusal to eat. Elephants have extraordinary memories, and they never forget those who cared for them. Mike felt a pang of sadness, realizing he had underestimated how Daisy would react to his absence. For her, his departure was sudden, and she couldn't grasp the idea that she might never see him again. Daisy wrapped her trunk around him and refused to let go, her playful antics drawing laughter from the staff. But she was far from happy. She had become distressed, clinging to him, unwilling to let him slip away. But thankfully, Mike hadn't gone yet, not fully. When it came time to feed her, Mike took charge once more. He offered to bathe her, turning the moment into a joyful exchange. Daisy, her spirit reignited, sprayed water from her trunk, laughing along with Mike as he dashed away in mock terror. Mike stayed by her side throughout the day, remaining with her until it was time to return home. Under his gentle guidance, Daisy slowly regained her strength, her spirit brightening each day. In recognition of his unwavering dedication, the park offered Mike a managerial role, encouraging him to stay on. The new position came with flexible hours, allowing him to stay close to Daisy and continue to be part of the lives of the animals he had bonded with over the years. Mike accepted the offer. Though he no longer cared for Daisy directly, he continued to make time for her, visiting whenever he could. Then one day, Daisy became a mother. She welcomed a calf of her own, and the first thing she did was introduce it to Mike. It was clear that, beyond her pride in her new baby, Daisy wanted to share the bond they had with the next generation. Daisy would never forget the kindness and love Mike had shown her when she needed it most. She knew, without a doubt, that Mike was her best friend, and that was a friendship that would last a lifetime. Did you enjoy the story? If you were in Mike's shoes, would you have given up traveling the world to stay with Daisy? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Daisy now knew, without question, that she had found a friend for life. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next video, and have a wonderful day.